My son, we are hunters. The greatest the world has ever known.
Охотник, это сказки.
Каждой сказки есть правда.
Who's next?
Sony has struck in again with their Spider-Man movie, and guess what? It does not work at all with Kraven the Hunter. Okay, so I'm going to say when this was announced that they were going to do a Kraven the Hunter movie, I thought, you know what? Kraven is definitely a character in the Spider-Man mythos where it's like, okay, you know, a film could work. It could. I'm not saying it can't. It could work. But the way that Sony is treating their Spider-Man universe right now, this is kind of, I don't want to say doomed to fail, but it was almost designed to fail. Now, the story of this one, it is basically like how Kraven became the hunter, and that he was raised by, like, he was in a kind of like almost like a mafia style family with his dad, and his dad's played by Russell Crowe. And, you know, he's just like, you know, gets mortally wounded, which I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free. I so badly want to do a spoiler one, and you know what? Maybe I will. But for right now, this is not, I'm going to try not to spoil anything because there's a lot in here that I do want to talk about. And this is kind of the origins of, like, how he became the hunter, how he's been feared by everyone. And I'm going to say this. This, I would not put it as bad as Madam Web. But then again, me saying that, it's not really saying much. So the good about it is that, and that also Aaron Taylor Johnson, he seems like he's actually trying, but he's got nothing to work with. Because what I feel like Sony has been doing is purposely making these because they're trying to ride on another property's popularity. Because they're seeing, like, how much Spider-Man is actually working with the MCU, but they're not seeing the gears. They're just like, hey, let's just chew up some bubblegum and just stick this. Why? Because this is popular. And it's not working. I should start with the editing. The editing is atrocious. And I honestly, I don't think this is as bad as Madam Web, but at the same time, this is bad, but I actually had fun watching this. And, you know, I love those kind of bad movies. So anyway, the editing aside is atrocious. They were also pushing for this movie to be rated R, and it is very violent. It is pretty gory, which at times is cool. And some of the action I thought was actually cool. But they were, like, marketing this thing to tell people, like, hey, we're rated R. We've we're going to be hardcore. And almost to the point where if you take a look at the poster, the R rating is, like, just as big as, like, some of the, like, text. Like, I remember looking at the poster, like, after I watched the movie, and I noticed, like, the R rating was just, like, so big, and it's like, see, we're rated R. They really should have, like, somebody should have photoshopped a giant arrow and just sticked it on the poster, because it was honestly like them going, you see that? We're rated R. The terrible and extremely noticeable ADR, and so many moments in this film that make you go, what was that? Like, I'll give this spoiler. I'll give you this one. It's not even really a spoiler, because, okay, so the main baddie in this film is Rhino. Why? Who cares? Which, honestly, he doesn't even really become Rhino until the final act. So Rhino he's in his office, and his like assistant or somebody comes in and tells him, like, yeah, Kraven just took out all our men. And then the Rhino's reaction is honestly the sound like a cat would make if, like, almost like they had hairballs, like, he almost like goes, and it's like, what was that? And and they don't bring that back. They don't go back to that. That's not like a trait he has. He just does that randomly, and they don't, like, come back to it. They don't do it again. And somebody actually tweeted that on just that scene alone on Twitter. And they said, this is unedited. I did nothing to this. And I sent that to some of my friends and family. And I said, I can vouch for that. That is 100% true. And they all came back to me and said, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm like, no, I'm not joking. That is 100% real. Which made them laugh even harder. And speaking of, you gotta be kidding me, the last 5 minutes of this movie tries to set up something, and it's like, no, you seriously? And I can't tell you how many times this movie reminded me of Ridley Scott's Robin Hood movie, where it gave you this character, and then it's like, all right, it's the prequel, and then at the end it goes, oh, now he's Robin Hood, and then that's the end of the movie, and it goes like, all right, well, wait until the next movie, and it's like, no, screw you. This movie does that. It doesn't do it like what Robin Hood did. It more does like now he's the hunter, and it's like, shut up. Like, oh my God, like, seriously, as much as I'm like just crapping on this movie, this is just, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I had fun watching it. This was exactly what I predicted it to be. Crappy. And while I think Aaron Taylor Johnson tries to salvage what little is there, it's like he's the rock in a piece of turd, where he's the one thing that's not a turd. And it's like, okay, like, that's the one, okay, that's it's one of these things doesn't belong here. So it's like that. But and I also want to talk about the script. There are so many pieces of dialogue in this movie that I don't know what Sony does. They get respected actors, sometimes Oscar-winning actors, to say some of the stupidest crap ever. Like, there's a moment where one of the characters says, they talk about their grandmother. It's like, that's when my grandmother died, and that was the last time I saw her. It was like, wait, what? Did you just say that? And that's actually a piece of dialogue in the movie. I'm not kidding. Where character says, that's when my grandmother died, and that was the last time I saw her. It's like, were you even thinking about that? Like, wait, what? That's actually in the movie. So from the horrendous editing to the random parts that don't make sense, how incredibly stupid Rhino's design was, it actually kind of makes you miss, like, Amazing Spider-Man 2. And they try to throw a twist at the end of the movie where it's like, no, like, what are you doing? So, of course, this gets a terrible. And, the fact that rumors were going around saying that, oh, this was the last movie that Sony's going to do. And it's like, oh, well, we've been freed. And then like a couple of days later, Sony said, no, we're continuing this because we want to keep making money. We don't want to put anything, we don't want to do a new, we don't want to make a good movie. We just want to make money. And man, come on. Are you serious? So, this is exactly what I thought it was. It was bad, but I actually had some fun watching it because of how bad it was. And would I own this? Maybe. So, yeah. So, of course, this gets it terrible. Of course it does. Did you expect anything more than that? No, probably not. But, if you just want to watch just a bad kind of not even superhero movie, you want to go into this, like have like a beer and pizza night with your buddies and just have a good time watching it, then this is a good movie for that. But don't go into this expecting quality because you are definitely not going to get anything.
When the man comes around, embrace who you really are, son. And you will become a legend. When the man comes around. When the man comes around.